and welcome to the Sweet Cruise Chat. I'm Kathleen Penner, owner of Plenty of Sunshine Travel, and today I'm joined by Beverly, and Beverly is from Regent Seven Seas, and we are going to be going over some other amazing exotic itineraries, and I can't wait to learn more about it, so I'm going to turn it right over to you.
Thank you, Kathleen. It's always a pleasure to be here with you and your clients. And I was so thrilled to learn that the last time we had a chat about exotic cruises on Regent, that it was one of your most well-attended events. So
Sure
I know that's why we thought we'd kind of, now we're sort of getting through this, the nastiness of the past couple of years. We thought we'd revisit that subject and look ahead to some of the wonderful things that are in the future. So thank you. There's still the elephant in the room, though. I said before, I can't wait to go to the slide. I mean, let's face it, it's still with us. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this on the presentation. We're going to talk about the good stuff. All I will say is that we have protocols in place. We are sailing. We are doing everything we can. The only thing that we do ask is that guests must be fully vaccinated in order to board the ship and to sail. And all our crew are also fully vaccinated. And all the sanitation hygiene protocols are in place that have been required and more. If you'd like to learn more about that, then Kathleen can give you access to a link where you can examine all of our protocols. So It's good news all around. We're back. All our ships are now back in the water, which is very exciting. Yes, that's good. I mean, they didn't really leave the water, but they weren't sailing for a long time. Right. So we've sort of done a stepwise approach. We started introducing them back sailing last September, and we're now fully functional. Although we have reduced the capacities a little bit, which I'll talk about as we move forward. So we're, just to remind your lovely clients, you know, who Regent is in the marketplace and what we kind of stand for. We are that beautiful little smaller ship, totally inclusive brand, similar to a luxurious floating country club. Our goal is to give you the most immersive experience we can give you as you sail around the world. We know that you're traveling to learn, to see, not just to sit on our ships and eat. Although we're going to give you a pretty amazing dining experience as well. But definitely the immersive exploration. Our original size of our ships, we marketed as 490 to maximum 750. You're going to see as we move through the presentation, we have made some small adjustments to that. And that is a nod to COVID protocols, as we have taken some suites out of service to create quarantine areas just in case we need them. Fortunately, we don't seem to be needing them very often, but that's just on that subject. The way you travel around the world to see the world is very important to us. We think that it's our role is to give you the chance to explore and to learn, but in the most luxurious, stress-free way possible. So once on board our beautiful little ships, you will be the recipient of incredible, impeccable service. You'll be accommodated in the most luxurious accommodation, all suites, no such thing as a cabin on Regent, as you know. And again, that spectacular cuisine that's all included, and every luxury included. In fact, a full list of goodies, which some of you may recall from other discussions. We are still the most inclusive cruise line on the market, bar none, because as other people start to add things, we add more. So we're still ahead of the pack. And just to remind your viewers that we do include from Canada round-trip airfare, economy on domestic cruises from Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, and on intercontinental flights if you're traveling overseas or to South America, Asia, Africa, Europe, etc. It is a business class air ticket that is automatically included in your price. We fly you in the night before the cruise starts if you book concierge or above. Transfers, breakfast, of course, included with that. Accommodations in a suite, which I mentioned. All the beverages are included, whether that be alcohol, fine wines, premium spirits, or non-alcoholic beverages such as smoothies, milkshakes, pop, juice, etc. The bars are all open for the taking, even the one in your suite. The gourmet dining and up to 5 restaurants, depending on the ship you're on, with no charge at all. 24-hour room service at no charge, free Wi-Fi, gratuities are always included, as are the taxes, and an extensive selection of short excursions. And that ties back into the immersive exploration. And the latest inclusion, which again, I think is also useful, especially in these COVID times when you're not wanting to go into laundries or wash your clothes with other people around, we now include unlimited free valet laundry, which is a real treat.
Yeah, that's nice. You don't have to pack as much as well. So that's
well, you don't. You're right. And quite often, especially in these more exotic destinations, people will do a cruise, an Atlantour, and then perhaps go on to do something something else.
Mhm.
So again, not having to schlep as many bags is really useful. You can sort of do all your laundry before you come home or before you move on to your next
Yeah.
part of your trip. So yeah, so the most inclusive still intimate ships, luxury, all suites, the main message.
Wonderful.
In terms of the air message, I think it is important to reiterate that, especially today because we're talking about exotics, where your business class ticket is going to be included in
Mhm.
those longer haul, destinations from the free gateways that I talked about. So we have
Right.
a myriad of free gateways in the US and 3 in Canada: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. If by some chance you have points and you have a lot to use,
Mhm.
what you could do is you can remove the air component from the Regent program, and that will reduce your fare.
Mhm.
Depending on the destination, it could be as little as $300. It could be as much as $8,500. It just depends on where you are. When
Right.
you're getting into business class tickets to Asia, as many people know, you're looking at many thousands of dollars for that.
Mhm.
So that's useful to know about.
Right.
So, but I think when you think about the importance of space, especially today, and importance of a stress-free holiday, this is how we start the Regent luxury experience even before you get to the ship, by having that business class included. So it's all part of it. And the one night pre-hotel program that we include with every cruise, if you book a concierge or higher, that's category D or E depending on the ship, flying you in a night before, again, eliminates stress. You're not having to worry about, a flight delay, or,
Mhm.
if one of your luggage happens to go astray, God forbid, or, having that one night built in. You arrive at your hotel, even if it's later in the evening, you arrive there, you've got a comfortable bed to greet you, you've got food, you've got people to look after you, and you wake up the next day, hopefully starting to get over some of the jet lag that does hit
Mhm.
you when you're doing some of these exotics. And then, of
Mhm.
course, we take you right to the ship with our transfer. So it's not so much an opportunity to sightsee in advance. It's
Mhm.
really about a stress-free arrival.
Yeah.
That's
And
if you want to
acclimating
do
to that time
sightseeing,
zone
then
as
that's
well.
something
Yeah.
different. Yes. So as long as you're booking more than 2 months before sailing, we can usually get the hotel. Once we get inside of 2 months before, which not many people do book these longer haul cruises that short in, but if you did happen to, we don't have the hotel blocks outside that. But most people are booking 8 months to 18 months in advance
Yes.
for this.
Yeah.
So, as you know.
Mhm.
So, in our exotic destinations, although we have 5 ships currently in our fleet and soon to be 6, there are 4 of them right now that are sailing to the exotics. And then the 5th one will kind of move into the exotic program as the years go on. As I said, our ships range in size. Used to be from 490 sort of upwards to 750, but now we've reduced it to 480 with the Navigator, our baby, to 682, 680, or maximum 732. So even less people on these beautiful ships, which of course is offering even more space to
Right.
your clients. So they're really quite spectacular.
Mhm.
People sail with Regent for many reasons. Obviously, they love the quality. They really like the dress code. And even though it's a luxury cruise, I think the fact that we don't demand ties and suits and long dresses is a real boon to people. And
Mhm.
again, traveling on these longer haul flights, long destinations, you want to be taking minimal luggage, not maximum. So the elegant casual dress code certainly is a positive.
Mhm.
Although we do offer formal nights on the longer cruises, and of course, 16 nights or longer. So some of our exotic destinations do fall into that category, but those formal nights would be optional. So for the gentleman, really on a normal day, it's basically just no jeans, shorts, or sneakers after 6. So
Mhm.
as you can see, this couple here dressed very nicely but elegantly casual. But of course, you can feel free to dress more formally if you like. You won't feel uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
they always like I think people always comment on the atmosphere at Regent. We are known as a very familial cruise line, not just familiar but familial, because they're the crew members we have been with us for so long, and our guests travel with us so often that they really talk about it feeling like they've come home. And so we try to foster that. So it may be a high quality environment or an upscale environment, but it's certainly not uptight. There's a lot of fun that goes on Regent with this warmth that people do feel. So luxury is not synonymous with it being sort of cliquey or something like that.
Right.
People obviously love the accommodation, the fact that there's no such thing as a regular cabin. What
Mhm.
you're looking at here is one of our one of our, what we call our lead-in or our smaller suites. What you're not seeing though is the big closet, the big bathroom, the vanity area. So there's even more to what you're looking at. So, a deluxe veranda as a lead-in is a pretty beautiful way to travel. Much nicer even than some mini suites that you'll find on other cruise lines. And then of course, depending on the guest budget, we have suites all the way up to over 4,000 square feet plus with the balcony. So it just depends on what people are doing. Sometimes when you're traveling longer on some of these longer haul destinations, such as world cruises or back-to-backs, the clients may look at taking something a little larger, perhaps with a separate bedroom, a little dining room, so that they can entertain. And that way their accommodation starts to feel more like a long stay condo that they've rented as opposed to a suite. So there's lots of variety and options there for them. But nevertheless, no matter which suite they choose, all of them are appointed so beautifully with luxurious Egyptian linens. The mattresses are to die for. I still rave about the wonderful sleeps I get on board. Of course, hair dryer, the vanity table. Most suites have walk-in closets. There's a few exceptions. Then, of course, you have your private safe. Most of the suites have a shower and a tub. There are some that just have showers or a combination. So depending on what your bathroom preferences are, it's important to consider that. And lots of different amenities such as, on-demand movies. This is how I catch up on my Oscar movies before the Oscars. I never seem to get time to watch them before. So as long as I go on a cruise in January, February, I get up to date on the Oscars. So because they always have some great movies. And of course, it's really super. And a bottle of bubbly, of course, to welcome you. And if you choose a penthouse or higher, then you get lots of additional amenities, including a butler. And of course, now you have the complimentary valet laundry service. So we are known for our large balconies. This is the concierge suite balcony on the Explorer. So when you can fit two oversized, high quality, luxurious deck chairs, plus in some cases a chaise as well, that they are spacious. Depending on the ship, as I mentioned, there are multiple dining options but the one thing that is constant in all of them is the award-winning Steakhouse Prime 7. That is a specialty restaurant that specializes in steak and seafood. It has won the Best Steakhouse at Sea award in the past. We're very proud of that. So that, amongst many other choices, are available at no additional cost. So even if you are on a longer cruise, 30 nights, 40, 50, 60, 100, whatever it might be, there are going to be lots of choices for you. And of course, even the smallest ship offers multiple show lounges and several different bars, even a nightclub. And of course, this 2-story show lounge where you can watch stage spectacular. So the fact that our ships are intimate by today's standards, you don't sacrifice anything. We still have full-scale entertainment in terms of shows, guest artists, and also enrichment lectures, which is very important to our guests. So that's kind of the onboard experience. And then, of course, back to the exploration discussion that we had earlier. Of course, the shore excursion program is a critical part of the Regent experience. So the fact that for probably about 15 years now, we have included a full range of shore excursions with our cruises. When other cruise lines are just starting to think about doing some of this, as I said, we've been doing it for 15 years. And it's not an easy thing to do, to ensure that you have enough of the right kind of excursions as much as you can for up to 700 odd people a cruise. It can be challenging, but we've got as close to perfecting it as I think you can get. Every different itinerary has a number of included tours associated with it. So when you look on the website or in the brochure, you'll see a different number according to the length of the cruise, number of ports of call. Of course, the complimentary excursions that we include would probably cost up to as much as $200 US a person on other cruise lines. So if you are comparing a previous cruise experience you've had on another cruise line, you could take your bill from that cruise line and kind of look and see, well, what did I spend and what won't I spend on Regent? Depending on the category you're in, concierge and above, you can start booking these excursions as early as a year in advance, if you can believe it. And for a deluxe veranda suite, you get to start booking them at 300 days in advance. So that tells you how far in advance in a normal business environment people do start booking Regent. So lots of stuff available. And within that short excursion program, there are several different themes, whether it be a culinary tour, depending on the ship, a wellness tour, or a new Go Local,
Mhm.
which some of these are complimentary. Some of them there could be a small fee for it. It just kind of depends what it is. But this is really designed for the really well-traveled person who's done a lot of the mainstream tours and is looking to delve deeper and have a more colloquial experience. So it
Mhm.
could be something as interesting as sitting with the gentleman here who hand designs the fans for the Spanish national flamenco dancers, something like that. So, or a
Yeah.
family of cheesemakers that's been doing it for 300 years. So
Mhm.
these are the kinds of things you find within the Go Local program.
Yeah, I
And
love
then we
that because
also,
I love learning about where we're going. Instead of just, oh, I'm going to go do a shore excursion and just have, a vague idea. This is actually more
yes.
immersive and it's great. Yeah.
Well, it is. And there, let's face it, there's some ports, for example, if you're on a Mediterranean cruise and Florence is on it, you can't miss Florence if you're in the Med, but some people have
Mhm.
been there a couple of times. So by doing a Go Local, you get a different aspect of life in Florence or life in Italy. So
Right.
yeah, and the other sort of demand that we identified or need is the interest that people have now, especially in the post-COVID environment, is the ability to travel in a small group when they're touring. Now, it's not that our groups are excessively large, but we decided to put a program in place where we will guarantee that there will be no more than 16 guests on a tour. So
Perfect.
these are these small group tours. We do have to charge an extra fee for these just because of the way they're created and administered.
Mhm.
So these are some of the choices the clients have over and above the complimentary program that we offer. But again, not to say that the free ones mean you're going to be with 50 people. That's not what we're saying. In this
Mhm.
case, we're just giving you a guarantee of a certain number. So now, as you know, we are, we do a lot of work with you, Cruise CEO and Plenty
Mhm.
of Sunshine Travel and Virtuoso offering shipboard credits. On an all-inclusive cruise, people often wonder what the heck they're going to use them for. So
Right.
just to
Yeah.
remind you, there's always something to use a shipboard credit for in Regent,
Mhm.
even if it's in the boutique. You can always go buy yourself a t-shirt or a watch or something. Then,
Mhm.
of course, you have the spa in addition to the gift shop. You could also use it to pay for a private car driver in a port, or use it for some of these upgraded shore excursions that I mentioned.
Right.
So there's lots of opportunities to use those. And as you know, your guests probably know, you always have a chance, or very rarely you don't have a shipboard credit to offer
Mhm.
them, right? And the other enhancement we've made to a lot of our shore excursions, and again, this again relates back to the hygiene protocols, is rather than you sort of traveling in a larger group and not being able to see the guide,
Mhm.
and we're now using a program called Smart Guide, where you download an app onto your own smartphone and you use your own headphones. You sort of are dialed into this app by your guide. You choose a group and you're connected to the
Mhm.
tour group that you're with. So as he or she is speaking, you're going to hear the commentary. But again, you're not using anybody else's machines or headsets. It's your own. So it's
Perfect.
we're trying to use technology as much as we can
Mhm.
to engage people.
Yeah.
Now, there's another aspect to the inclusiveness of Regent that comes into play in particular when we're talking about the exotics, and that is the complementary land programs.
Mhm.
Now, Regent offers many different types of land programs. There are many of them that are additional.
Mhm.
There are experiences where you can leave a cruise partway through for 3 days, go off and explore and come back. There are treks up to Machu Picchu. There's many different experiences that there is an additional fee for. But
Mhm.
we also have many that are free. So I'm
Right.
going to focus on those today
Okay.
because I think it adds even more value,
Yes.
because these experiences would cost you up to around $2,000 a person if you're booking them with other companies.
Mhm.
So there's a couple of them available in some European cities, but for the most part, we find them in the exotic destinations, such as the ones I've listed here, which of course enhance the experience. Why would you want to fly into Bangkok and get on a ship the next day and not see Bangkok?
Right. Yes.
So, I mean, having the opportunity to spend 3 days there pre.
Mhm.
So we allow you to choose. You can have it free at one end or the other, usually. So
Mhm.
either beginning or ending of the cruise. So really phenomenal. So I think at the end, when you start looking at, Regent for any any destination. We've talked before about the value proposition, the fact that our prices often look a lot higher than other cruise lines, but that's because we're completely upfront with what your vacation is going to cost you. And, there are no surprises when you have everything from soup to nuts included. And so we do create these comparisons. We're currently updating them for 2023, but this is one of the latest ones I had for an Asia cruise where we were, and again, I think the important thing is that when you are comparing Regent, you are comparing to a comparable size of accommodation. So if Regent's starting at around 350 square feet, around there, you want to be comparing at something comparable with another cruise line. You've got to look at how big the ship is, how long the cruise is, how many crew have they got. But let's look at what kind of air is included. Very few cruise lines always include business class air, whereas we do. Very few include a free land program, if any. The short excursions, the Wi-Fi, the gratuities. And I think when you do the math, as we've done in the past, you start to see actually what you'll end up spending per day. It may not come at you right away in one amount, but no matter what you think, you're going to spend it. It's going to come at you in a nice big Visa bill at the end, probably. So when we do these comparisons, we look at the per diems of what you're actually paying on Regent versus other lines. So it becomes a really great value proposition. Many clients, as you know, have realized that perhaps they could have been traveling on Regent for several years if they'd really realized the mathematical analysis that they could do to give themselves the confidence to do it. And you can travel with a much better quality.
And on that chart, they probably only had one short excursion per day, whereas yours is as many as time and energy allows.
Yeah, if you could do two,
bigger value there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of just reminding people of the value. So let's look at some of the destinations that await within this exotic program that we offer. Of course, we do travel to over 400 ports around the world, and these countries that we visit are popular with many people for land travel as well. But when you're investing a high amount of money in an airline ticket to get over to India or say Africa or Asia, South Pacific, it's almost like you want to see as much as you can while you're there. So I think there are a lot of reasons why cruising to these destinations makes more sense than perhaps a traditional coach tour or land package. So I just wanted to kind of point out a few of those reasons in case people haven't really thought about it. Number one, many of these wonderful exotic places in the world don't necessarily have the same consistent quality or rating systems that we have in North America or even Europe when it comes to accommodation or food or service. So I think the consistency and familiarity of a cruise such as Regent does give you that, peace of mind that you're not going to get. So you're going to be able to explore the world and not worry about anything. And again, it's the stress-free nature. You could use the same argument in Europe. No schlepping on enough buses and trains and airplanes. You're only unpacking once. And, we're choosing all the best tour options for you. And then you can basically make your choice from that. It's pretty exhausting, schlepping bags. My husband and I have had some great trips, even in Europe, when we haven't cruised. But I have to say, one of the first memories that comes to mind is him looking like a pack mule, trying to drag my suitcases up and down stairs in old train stations that don't have elevators.
Right.
So, and imagine if you're in somewhere like India trying to do that. So,
oh goodness. That'd be quite the experience you don't want.
Oh, you don't want. No, it's exhausting. And then, of course, let's face it, as we get older, our elementary systems can be a little bit sensitive. So, you want to try local specialties, but you don't want to find yourself in a bit of a pickle after doing so. So knowing that we're going to allow you to try, local specialties where we have the quality control and we know how things are handled and created, and the fact we can handle special dietary needs, I think is another important thing. And the language barriers, that's the other thing. It's for some people it can be fun, but let's face it, once we reach our fall years, maybe it's not so exciting to be struggling to make yourself known. You can have fun trying your foreign language skills out while on shore, but yet knowing that we can communicate, and we've got all the big decisions made for you.
Right.
And then ultimately, it's a safety and security message. The world is a pretty wacky place today. It's never going to settle down 100%. So, I mean, if you look at the Holy Land, people have been traveling there for years. It's probably never going to be entirely peaceful, but we still go because that's just what it is, and it's part of the culture. But knowing that a ship can be moved at a few moments' notice if necessary, I think is really very important for people, because our prime concern is safety. So lots of great reasons, I think, why cruising makes sense, but definitely when it comes to exotic destinations. Don't you agree? So I thought I'd just kind of start with that. Obviously, the lands down under are one of the most intriguing places for North Americans to visit, because it is so far. It is a long flight, there's no doubt. And so that's where that business class really comes into play. But what a wonderful place to go to. And when we look at all the different things that you can do in Australia and New Zealand, we've had to come up with a myriad of pre and post programs in order to fulfill our clients' interest. Some of those are free, some of them are additional. If you're wanting to, go into the interior of Australia to Ayers Rock, for example, those are up to the Barrier Reef. Those are going to be additional, but we do have some complimentary one as well, and lots of excursions to delve into the culture and the geography. Now, the past couple of years with COVID, we've had 2 years of full Australia, New Zealand seasons that were canceled. There were the fires happening over there. COVID hit. So there's been a tremendous stress on inventory. So you may think it's strange for me to tell you this, but most of our 23 and 24 and many of our dates are sold out. So if you are looking for something in this part of the world, it's never too soon to look. And if you do see something waitlisted, it's worth waitlisting because things will happen. It's still a long way off. But we will have our new 24-25 program coming out this summer. But obviously, it's a wonderful way to see this part of the world. It's a massive country, Australia, and of course, New Zealand is as well. So there will be more options coming. Another very popular cruise down under is, in addition to the South Pacific itself, is the Sydney to Singapore cruise, which allows you to transition from the South Pacific more up to Asia. There is still space on this cruise in January 2024. Yes, 24. That's almost 2 years from now. 23 is sold out or just out. So I think it's important to plan ahead. Many clients are working on their bucket lists as they are catching up. So it's never too soon to know about these. So this would be a wonderful departure. What you would do in this case, you'd have your business class, as I mentioned, but there is a free pre or post package, 3 nights in either Sydney or Singapore. What many of our clients do on this cruise is, because Australia is so vast, they quite often will do a more extensive tour in Australia beyond that 3 nights pre that we have. They might look to create something or look to something we offer, and then perhaps use the Singapore 3 nights at the end, because Singapore is perhaps a smaller destination. So, but it's really up to you. It's really first come, first serve. Whichever pre or post sells out first is the one that goes first. It's just it's one of those situations. And of course, business class included. So this is on the Explorer. The ship is won the best luxury ship in the whole world. When she first came out, she's absolutely spectacular. Only 732 guests. So this is in January 2024. It's a 19-night cruise plus your free nights, which brings it to 22 nights. And in a deluxe veranda G, it's around 25,300 Canadian. But again, that includes your airfare. Nothing else you have to pay for except your ice cream. And your souvenir. So. Another option down under could be also in 2024 in March. So a couple of years from now, Auckland to Bali. And in this case, with your pre or post, you might want to do 3 nights in New Zealand first. Or again, you may want to spend a little more time in New Zealand, hop on the cruise, and then use your 3 nights post in Bali at the end. And enjoy these significant ports in Australia.
Mhm.
So you've got the pre and post free again, business class, the excursions, etc. Now this is our baby ship, the Navigator, 480 guests now. She's like a little floating country club. She's really delightful, wonderful atmosphere on her. Now she does have a couple of types of suites that don't have balconies. She's the only ship in our fleet. She's a bit older, and there were some categories that didn't. So depending on how, if you'd rather take your money and use it for something else, you
Mhm.
can take a window suite, which is a little less. It's about 15 and a half, or you can move up to one that has a veranda.
Mhm.
And then of course, Asia, again, we've had two lost years, and yes, it's, as we know, it's tragic, but here we are trying to make up, which also
Mhm.
leads us to to have challenges in 2023, with most of our cruises being sold out already in
Mhm.
the first part of the year. So if you're looking to travel in January, February, March to Asia, you probably won't find anything available at this point unless you grab a cancellation.
Mhm.
So we're looking ahead really to the fall of 23 into 24 at this point, with a wonderful selection of cruise departures. So I thought I'd just focus on a few, again, the ones that offer
Mhm.
some of those free land programs. This is
Yeah.
a marvelous itinerary. This is November 2023.
Mhm.
And the cruise is from Hong Kong to Bali on that luxurious ship, the Explorer, again,
Yeah.
732 guests. And what's wonderful about this itinerary, yes, you have your free pre or post, but the ship also overnights in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam and Bangkok. So
Okay.
she's going to become your floating hotel that night, which is going to
Mhm.
give you the 2 days, gives you more tours and opportunities to experience those ports at night as well, which is something
Amazing.
we also try to do, offer
Yeah, that's
those.
great.
Yeah. So on this one, you're looking at 50-night cruise plus 3 nights on land, so 18
Mhm.
nights for under 20,000 Canadian, which of course includes that business class ticket, which
Mhm.
probably for Asia would be what, about $6,000, I would think, perhaps
I would
more.
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Mhm.
yeah,
Incredible. But what a nice itinerary. I mean,
yeah,
you're going
yeah.
to great destinations. Yeah.
And look at it, you've got Singapore, Bali, Vietnam,
Yeah.
Thailand.
And
Yeah,
what a difference
it's
of cultures, because you're thinking of Bali and then you go up to, Bangkok and they're just completely different. So
yeah,
you're really
yeah.
learning a lot in both of them. Yeah.
Well, you're getting the low key part at the end, which is nice. You can
Yeah.
get your craziness over and then relax in Bali at the end if you,
Right.
if you
Yeah.
want. So.
Amazing.
Japan has been a hot ticket for a few years now, and once again, because of cancellations. So our 2023 cruises are right now on wait list for the most
Mhm.
part. So if you're looking to go to Japan, you need to look toward October 2023 or spring 2024.
Mhm.
So here's a cruise that still does have availability on March 6th. So again, 2 years from now, you could be on this cruise around about with business class included.
Yeah.
Again, on the Explorer, that beautiful ship. This
Mhm.
cruise also includes overnights in Kobe and Tokyo. So
Okay.
that's another bonus. And
Mhm.
again, if you want to do this in the fall of 23, there is some space on the November 20th departure. So you're looking at around just under 18,000 for
Mhm.
15 nights, including the land. So
Mhm.
now we're starting to cross over from Asia to Africa at this point. One of our most popular cruises is a cruise that goes between Dubai and Singapore, Dubai, Mumbai, Dubai, Cape Town, anything that has a combination of Dubai and something else in Africa, India,
Mhm.
flies off the shelf. So consequently, our 2023 22 and 23 cruises have sold out. We do have some space left on the April 5th, 2024
Mhm.
Bangkok to Abu Dhabi voyage on the Navigator. We call this Asian Wonders and Arabian Nights. You can see why, with
Yeah.
the most exotic places you could go to, from
Mhm.
Bangkok to Singapore to Malaysia to India, having the chance to see those 4 different ports, Cochin, Mangalore, and Goa in Mumbai itself. Now,
Mhm.
on this cruise, Mumbai itself obviously is it's the jumping off point to visit the Taj Mahal. Now, the Taj Mahal is inland. We can't go there for a day.
Right.
So if you wish to see the Taj Mahal, this is an instance where you'd have to leave the ship
Mhm.
for a couple of nights, up to 3 nights, I think it is, and then come back and rejoin. So some of our cruises allow those opportunities, some don't,
Mhm.
and those would be an additional charge. And again, if it's a bucket list trip for you, you're not going back again. It's probably worth factoring one of those in.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this one comes with free package, 3 nights in Bangkok or Abu Dhabi, and you're looking around 21,000 Canadian for the 23 nights altogether, which I think is quite extraordinary when you look at the inclusions with everything. So.
Amazing.
Now, Africa itself and Arabia, Africa, we have a program. It's a little more limited than I would like, to be honest with you. I would like to see us adding some departures a little earlier in the year.
Hmm.
A lot of our cruises tend to be in November, December, and
Okay.
some of them cross over the holidays. Here's an example of one which would be a New Year's sailing, which could
Hmm.
be a really interesting way to celebrate, if you can imagine being
Absolutely.
on the ship. Several of my best New Year's in my life have been on cruises. Nobody has to worry about drinking and driving, and you
Right.
can have
Right.
you're celebrating with a few hundred relatively close friends at that point, and it's
Hmm.
really a wonderful way to celebrate. But this our round trip Cape Town departures, we have several of these. Here's an example departing on December 28, 2023.
Hmm.
It's just over 2 weeks, and it does come with a free land program. Now, in this case, because it's Christmas,
Hmm.
um, it's kind of tough to know what to do. I mean, you might want to do it at the end,
Right.
or if your clients aren't particularly concerned about being here at Christmas, as some
Hmm.
people aren't, then what you could do is consider perhaps even doing a larger scale safari. We don't include full safaris for
Yep.
free, but we do have some programs that you can purchase, or I know you have a lot of different suppliers,
Hmm.
or you could just go in for the free 3 nights that we offer. Or the other option on this one is to stay on board at the end and cross over to Rio. So we have
Okay.
quite a few clients who will do
Yep.
that. It's a lovely, relaxing way to get back to this side of the continent.
Hmm.
The time change is not as brutal. So you'll sail from Cape Town up the coast over to Jamestown and then over to Rio. So you could tag those two on together. That could
Yeah.
be a wonderful,
Wow.
wonderful thing to do. So there are lots of different choices. Now, in this case, you could have the free nights in Rio at the end.
Hmm.
That's a pulsating city in South America, as you can imagine, and
Yeah.
not one you want to be wandering around a lot on your own. So being
Right.
part of a region program would be something that would be interesting and
Yeah.
safe, I think. So.
Hmm. Hmm.
So as I said, we have a couple of free packages available in Cape Town, but not the full safaris. The ones that we have they kind of dabble in a safari type experience, or they visit the wineland area, which is very interesting, but it's not the full extensive safari experience that people may want for a bucket list experience. So if you want that, we certainly have them where you're actually going and staying in lodges and visiting spending lots of time with the wildlife. So again, just to kind of qualify that there are the free programs and there are the ones that you would pay extra for. So.
Hmm.
And probably our last sort of exotic destination that we travel to is South America,
Hmm.
which is a fascinating place, which again has a whole rhythm of its own for many reasons, from the tango to the samba. There's lots of dancing and lots of movement that goes on there. It's for us, it's nice because there's not a huge time difference with South
Hmm.
America, so we're sort of vertically aligned. So it
Right.
makes it
Yeah.
more comfortable if you think of it that way. You have an hour
Hmm.
here, a couple of hours there. It's not like traveling over to Australia,
Right.
and so it is a little closer to home than some of these other exotic destinations. We do offer business class there, and we do have a couple of freeland programs, although some of them, such as Iguazu Falls and Machu Picchu, do come with a fee attached to them.
Hmm.
We also try to put overnight stays as often as we can. So the rounding of Cape Horn is something that's on many people's
Yeah.
bucket list.
Hmm.
People who want to be intrepid explorers, answer their own inner Magellan. So we have several opportunities to do this starting this fall in 23 and 24.
Hmm.
It's a consistent program that we offer. We do still have space for this year. It's a 3-week cruise that takes you from Lima to Buenos Aires all the way around the Horn. And it does come with a free pre or post package. But again, it wouldn't be Iguazu Falls or Machu Picchu. It would be more city related. If you want to do something more extensive, then that could be added on.
Right.
So we're looking, this is, I think, terrific value.
Oh,
so you're looking at 24 nights for under $24,000 Canadian, including business class. So I think that's a pretty amazing opportunity.
I think so too. And being where it is as well is just amazing. Yeah.
It is. Now, Antarctic cruising has become popular, and some people are looking to sort of tick that area off their list. So we do have a cruise that goes to Antarctica, but I have to qualify that it is a cruise by or a cruise through. It's not a disembarkation experience.
Okay.
Where in order to do that, you would have to be on an exploration vessel or an expedition vessel, where they offer zodiacs. That is not what Regent is, but we do want to give our guests the chance to say that they have seen it, looked at it, they just haven't tasted and touched it, so to speak. So this departure, Buenos Aires to Santiago in January 2023, gives you that opportunity to go down to the Antarctic Peninsula and do some cruising through that area, as well as the Cape Horn experience. And this one also has a free 3-night land program in either Buenos Aires or Santiago. So you're looking at 22 nights for about 25,000 Canadian. So, the Amazon is another. This is the only river cruise that we do, by the way. People often ask me, do we do river cruises? This is the only river that we do, the Amazon, because it is very wide. In many cases, you can't see from side to side, and it's 1,000 miles long. So it's a little more like an ocean than it is a river. We do Amazon cruises a couple of times a year. Our upcoming departures this year are completely sold out. Although we've had to remove Brazil from some departures this year because of the COVID restrictions. We're certainly hoping that by 2023, things will be back on track.
Yes.
So this particular cruise from Rio to Miami does offer that Amazon experience. And again, this comes with a free 3-night land program in Rio, which makes sense. You're probably not going to want to spend 3 nights in Miami. So we're going to fly you to Rio on business class. And then you'll have your 3 nights there, then get on the cruise and then cruise up around the coast, down the Amazon 1,000 miles, as I said, which is quite amazing. You end up in Manaus, which has an opera house, as you can see this pink building at the bottom here. It was once at one point known as the Paris of South America. It was that sophisticated, not quite as sophisticated now, but certainly an interesting place. And you also get the chance to see the lesser traveled part of South America in places like Boca de Valaria, Santarém, where you literally have natives coming up to the ship in their dugouts. So there aren't as many excursions on this cruise because some of the ports don't have the infrastructure to offer them. So in places such as Alto do Chão, for example, or Corinthians, you're literally wandering around with the locals. That's what it is. So we do offer a lot of tours in mainstream Brazil. And then, of course, once you get to Martinique and St. Martin. So you get a bit of a Caribbean cruise at the end of this, which is nice. So by the time you get home, you should be well into April, and hopefully the snow will be gone. So I think this
and you'll come back with a tan by visiting.
And you'll come back with a tan. There you go. So this is definitely something that should be on the list. So those are the main places that we visit in the world. And I didn't spend a lot of time on was Tahiti, but we do have a full Tahiti program, 10-night round trip Tahiti voyages that can also be done as part of the South Pacific. Now, we do find many of our guests like to string these experiences together. As I said earlier, if you're not retired and you can travel for more than 18 nights or 14 nights, why would you not extend your trip rather than spending airfare 10 times over 10 years in a row? Why would you not do it? So you always have the opportunity to do back-to-back cruises. You can create your own voyage. But we take the liberty of creating what we call some grand voyages to suggest these wonderful opportunities. And when you do a grand voyage with us, that would be one of these longer experiences that we have put together for you. You do receive even more amenities than on a normal Regent cruise, if you can believe it. So, for example,
what else can you add?
What else could you get, right? What else could you get? Well, I mean, there could be instances where we would, if you're flying from Miami we normally wouldn't give you business class, but maybe we'll give you business class. Or when you're doing these much longer haul trips, you'll get first class air. Or, you know, we usually do a special pre-cruise hotel stay with a launch or a dinner. People who are traveling on these longer voyages are brought together the night before to meet each other. Usually our president flies out, or one of our executives, to meet with people, to thank them, to introduce them to the program. We also offer on many of them some, you know, sort of exclusive shoreside experiences, you know, that other people on board aren't necessarily getting. So it could be something, for example, if it included China, it could be a private dinner on the Great Wall of China. I mean, that's sort of very, very special. When you get into world cruises, that's when you start to see that. But nevertheless, even on a grand voyage, we want to create some special things. Door-to-door luggage service is another thing. You know, a couple of months before you leave, or 8 weeks before you leave, you know, we're going to pick up your bags so you're not schlepping, you know, 4 suitcases. A visa package is quite often included in these. And of course, the laundry, including dry cleaning and pressing, some free phone time, some gifts. So yeah, so what we call the bespoke amenities, they can vary a little bit according to the cruise, but in general, that's what happens. So I'm just going to show just a couple of these. If your clients are interested in these, we do have a Grand Voyage section on the website or in the brochures they can look at. But here's an interesting one that's always very popular because it allows you to end up in Europe without jet lag. And it also gives you a chance to go up to see Iceland and Greenland. So anytime we do an Arctic adventure from North America to Europe, it sells quite quickly. So this one coming up in June 2023 on the Navigator is called the Grand Arctic Adventure, sails from New York to Barcelona. It hits on some of the interesting East Coast ports, such as, you know, Martha's Vineyard, our lovely country in Halifax, St. John, of course, Corner Brook and St. John's, Newfoundland, goes all the way up then to Greenland, and then over to Iceland, down to I think it's the Orkneys, the Faroe Islands, down to the British Isles, and ultimately coming down the coast of France around to Spain. So this is a marvelous itinerary. And again, it's comprised of several cruises, so you don't have to take the full 78 nights. There are probably 3 different cruises involved in that, or maybe 4. So, but if you do the whole 78 nights, then there's special value associated with it, with those special amenities. So this one right now for category F is around 72,000 Canadian for the 78 nights. So. And something a little more exotic, what we call a Grand Asia Pacific journey, Sydney to Tokyo. This is in January 2024. It's a 59-night cruise. So this would be a case where people would probably fly into Sydney early, do some perhaps extensive touring in Australia on the western or central western coast, and then hop on the ship and go up all the way to Tokyo. Again, this one, you'd get your first class air, 166 excursions, if you can believe it, and then those additional amenities. So you're looking around 57,000 Canadian for the 59 nights. So,
I can't think of how many memory cards I'd fill up taking pictures of all those places.
Like, unbelievable.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And I know when we think about, I mean, for some people, they might think, oh, yikes, $57,000 per person. Gee, I could pay my mortgage off with that, or, you know, whatever it might be. I mean, hopefully if you're, you know, getting to the, you know, late 50s, 60s, 70s, you've either got rid of your mortgage and paid off the kids' expenses and getting ready to start working on your enjoyment and get, you know, enjoy reap the rewards of your labor. So when you start to look at what you're getting for your money, to travel to those destinations, you would normally probably have had to have done probably 3 to 4 different trips.
Right.
If you look at what you would have spent for those 3 to 4 different trips, you know, it really puts it in perspective. And when we look at world cruises, I think that's really when that perspective becomes really clear. Absolutely. I know you and I have talked about these before. Unfortunately, we had a world cruise in 2020 that was suspended literally 6 weeks in. Not even, maybe a month in, because of COVID. So we had a whole ship of people who were then wanting to book the next one because they were aborted from the first one. And then so when the next one was announced in 2022 or in 2021, everybody had shifted over to that. Well, then, of course, that one was suspended.
Went to 2022. Oh,
so now we have 2 years of world cruisers who are, you know, pent up demand. And so 2022 came,
Mm-hmm.
and the ship was full, and we had to make some modifications again.
Yeah.
So consequently, we have almost 3 years of world cruises with pent up demand. And what that has meant is that 23 and 24 are pretty much sold out.
Yeah.
Which, and you might say, well, why am I talking about it? Well, I'm going to talk about it because I think it's important. This kind of
Mhm.
experience, it's not something you plan overnight. So I
Right.
think it's about thinking of the future.
Yes.
I'm not to say that waitlisting on one of these wouldn't bring success, but
Hmm.
I think looking ahead to 25 perhaps or 26, understanding what we offer, I
Yeah.
think will really be important.
And
So
they really sell out so fast. So even letting me know, a couple months or half a year in advance, and then I can be on the phone the second it opens. Because boy, do they
right.
sell out so fast, like lightning. Yeah.
Well, they do. And I think even more because we have all that pent up demand. So we have the normal sort of group of consumers who wanted to do it anyway. They had been planning. And then we have all the people who have missed out. So it's just creating this huge backlog. So I think this is going to continue for another couple of years
Mhm.
because we have that backlog, and more people are now realizing how short life is, and they're starting to, really look at what's important.
Right.
So when we put together World Cruise, every year looks a little different.
Mhm.
As much as we'd love to say you can do the entire cruise world on a world cruise, you really can't.
Right.
Not without staying on for,
Mhm.
probably almost a year.
Yeah.
Geographically, it's really challenging. So what you'll
Right.
find is that if you get a lot of South America,
Hmm.
don't get a lot of Africa. If you
Hmm.
get a lot of Africa, you may not get a lot of South America. So
Right.
it just kind of it depends how it's working.
Hmm.
So the cruise in 23 has a little bit of South America, but just really on the west coast. It's not
Hmm.
going down the Horn, but it does have a fair bit of Africa. So you'll see
Hmm.
by looking at this map. So that was very appealing to a lot of people who were looking for that African experience, and of course India and the South Pacific.
Hmm.
So this is 143 night voyages that starts in Miami, and it makes its way. It actually goes west through the South Pacific, around through the South Pacific to Australia, and then Asia, and up, and then over to Africa and up the coast to Europe, ending in Barcelona. So phenomenal experience, and usually, in the past world cruises, we would have a certain percentage of the ship doing the world cruise. So if the ship held 500 people, it might be 280 that might be doing the whole thing, and then
Right.
the rest of the ship might be doing segments. Over the past years now, we are finding we've had to allocate the entire ship to World Cruise. So
Hmm.
we have sort of 682 people doing the World Cruise on the ship,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. It's
It is.
everybody's doing the same thing. So
Yeah, you really
the
get to know each other well too.
you certainly do,
Yeah.
yeah, and the crew as well. This is where these
Hmm.
relationships. So you should have seen the tears, people leaving. We did have to suspend it.
So,
So, I
yeah.
mean, the highlights obviously are just mind blowing when you think of how many oceans you cruise, how many continents you visit. As I mentioned, we try to keep the ship in overnight ports as many often as we can. I mean, obviously, the UNESCO World Heritage sites are on most people's bucket list. So, there's so much that is crammed into this, and it's a pretty cool bragging right to have to
It
say that you've
is.
done this.
Yeah.
You think about how many miles you've covered. So it's certainly an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And again, as I said, the overnights play an important part in experiencing these cultures in the
Hmm.
evening, not just during the day. So as I mentioned earlier, we in particular for world cruises, we do some exclusive shoreside experiences.
Hmm.
So the three that we're doing on the 23 world cruise are these ones here. And again, the anybody else who wasn't doing a world cruise, if by chance they weren't, would not be invited to this. Is something that's done extra specially for the world cruise clients. Yeah. And then on this particular itinerary, we are offering those overland programs that I mentioned. For example, the Galapagos is on a lot of people's bucket list. We can't
Hmm.
take the ship there because we're just a little big.
Yeah.
And so we're going to give you the chance to do it. There's also a Machu Picchu experience and a Leopard Mountain Safari. So again, these would be optional,
Yeah.
and you would leave the ship and then come back.
Hmm.
But as I said, a lot of people will do that because it's their chance to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
it.
They're
So
there. Hmm.
yeah. So the 2023 World Cruise opened on September 23rd, 2020.
Hmm.
Sold out within a week, actually less than a week, which is kind
Hmm.
of crazy.
It is.
At this point, we are now we are taking what we call a guarantee only on the category G. Everything else is completely so. We won't take a guarantee. What a guarantee means is that if you pay for this guarantee category G, we guarantee you'll get a G or higher. We can't give you a suite number at this point, but at least we're telling you that you'll be on the cruise.
You'll be there.
So, and those deluxe veranda suites on the Mariner are sort of 356 square feet with a balcony. They've got a walk-in closet, large bathroom. You know, they are lovely. So if somebody is looking for 2023, this is probably your best opportunity right now to get on this. Now, as the years progress, there could be some fluidity, some movement. Unfortunately, some of our guests decide they can't travel or won't travel, whatever. But it's unlikely that there'll be a huge amount of movement. So, but that category G guarantee right now for 143 nights is 127,599 Canadian. That's as of today. Have some. Now, we talked about this before about the value of Regent overall, but particularly when you're looking at long stay, Grand Voyages or World Cruises, I think it's really clear pretty easily in looking at this that the best value in any kind of quality long stay exploration is a World Cruise. And this is why there are people that do them every year, believe it or not. They're lucky enough that they have the means. They don't just do them once in their lifetime. So I would just sort of, before we close today, I just want to make a couple of maybe provoking comments. Number one, think about how much it would cost you in transportation and hotels to do a trip of 143 nights in a 5-star environment. I mean, if you were to do that literally, I mean, if people were taking 14-night vacations, you'd have to do 10 of them. You'd have to do 10 of those vacations with your business class air to even come close to that. So I think that's worth thinking about. You know, it's what additional budget would you need, you know, to cover your food and beverage, your gratuities, you know, the visits, the tours, extra visas, you know, all
the
these
tips
things.
of people taking your luggage in and out of the hotel.
Yes.
Everything just adds up.
Yeah, it's just, you know, how many bags? I mean, you need to take bags with you, and you're going to take more when you're on a world cruise, you know, so just thinking about the packing and unpacking stuff, you know, the quality of food and water that we talked about, the ability to communicate, the safety, the consistency, all these things we talked about. You've got to reflect on this when really evaluating what you get on a world cruise. So what would that cost you per day if you really look at that? And then you can start to explore and consider, first of all, don't you deserve something better? Because, you know, schlepping with your knapsack around the world is a very different experience, or working in a kibbutz or an ashram is not necessarily how you want to see the world at this stage in your life. So if we look at what this 143-night cruise would cost on Regent, where you've got absolutely everything included, no additional spending other than, you know, if you decide to do those overland trips, if you want to upgrade an excursion here or there, but it's really not much at all. I mean, your insurance is really your biggest cost, right? Because you've got to get insurance, but that's not included. But in terms of the experience, and you're only unpacking once, and your laundry's included, and the visas are included, and the accommodation, you know, and I think the TLC is important too. You've got doctors on board the ship, the medical care. We actually include with the World Cruise a certain basic level of medical as well. So when we look at that, what I just shared with you has been available, the 128,000. That today, that cruise actually today is you would pay more than you would have done when it opened for sale back in 2020, because we raised the prices. So technically, if you were on the ball back then, you could have saved yourself probably about $15,000-$20,000. So, but today you'd be looking at only 892 Canadian per diem. Which again, if you go to New York for the weekend, you'll probably spend that much as well without getting all the stuff. So
absolutely.
Yes, I think this per diem discussion is really important. And actually, to illustrate that point about booking early, the 2024 World Cruise, which was launched a year after the other one, sold out within 3 days. 3 days.
Yeah.
Because by then we'd had another World Cruise cancel. So the entire cruise is waitlisted, that you can't even wait. You can't even, get a guarantee. It's
Mhm.
entirely waitlisted. If you could get on today, the least expensive suite would be 97,349 Canadian. So
Mhm.
it's 11 nights less than the other.
Mhm.
And
Which
it's
makes a
what,
difference. That's, yeah.
20,000 less right now. So
Mhm.
I think it just goes to show the demand that is there.
Mhm.
So if you are looking for something into the future for World Cruise, then 2025 will be launched around July 14th.
Mhm.
We do a preview email out to all our guests or previous world cruisers, and we let our travel partners know. So,
Mhm.
and then in terms of pre-registration, if you're interested to get on, then Kathleen, you as the expert,
Mhm.
basically the reservation agent you work with, you can tell them what you're looking for, and then it goes into this big pre-registration bank.
Right.
And then we have to sort through who wants what category and
Mhm.
priority. So it's not a guarantee you'll get on, but at least it gets you in the running. So
Yeah. Yeah,
with the
that's right.
current demand. And then for other exotics, Grand Voyages in 24-25, we'll be launching that program around August 14th this year.
Mhm.
So it's a good time now to be thinking about the future, knowing that there is
Absolutely.
that demand. But
Mhm.
there's pockets of availability, as I said, in 23 and 24.
Mhm.
But if you're looking to do something in the next little while, but booking early is really important. Remembering the value, do your math, add
Yeah.
everything up.
Yeah.
And also I know that you have lots of other goodies that you have access
Mhm.
to being with
Absolutely.
Virtuoso. So I know you'll be happy to explain all those to your customers. And of course, Regent participates actively with your company and Virtuoso to offer
Mhm.
you all
Mhm.
these different things. And I guess right now, the message is if you're interested in anything that I've talked about or
Mhm.
anything we have in our system through spring 24, I would book before April 1st,
Okay.
because fares are going to go up. Now, I'm going to, with one exception, I'm going to give you a little hint. I think South America, I think there's a
Mhm.
really good promotion coming in April between you and
Okay.
I.
Mhm.
So if you're going to book South America for
Right.
2020,
Mhm.
I would wait a little bit on
Okay.
that, because I think it'll be just for 2023,
Mhm.
2023, yes. So, but any other destination, I would move quickly because the rates are going to go up. And
Mhm.
as you know, you can offer shipboard credits on most sailings, or many of them, between 250 or 400, depending on
Mhm.
what's there. And just for peace of mind, so your clients know that, except for World Cruises and the Grand Voyages, really your deposits are refundable up until the first penalty, which in many cases is several months before departure.
Right.
So if you're
Yeah.
booking a 24 cruise, you just put your money down, your 15%. You've got nothing to worry about. You can get it all back except for $125,
Right.
which I
Which is
think is not much and even
mhm.
that could become a future cruise credit. So this is why I think people book early, really to reserve themselves the opportunity to go because of the
Mhm.
demand on the
Mhm.
cruises.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that's
And
kind of
that's
my
good to know.
message.
Thank you
And
for the inside scoop on that one.
well, I like to always end with this saying, I still
Yes.
haven't found a better one.
That's
Benjamin
good.
Franklin says it best. The
Yep.
bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. Who could say it better than that? So, and that
Great.
kind of sums it up, doesn't it? So,
Perfect. Well, thank you
thank
so
you for
much.
having me.
No problem. Thank you for putting all that together. It was amazing. Wow.
You're most welcome.
Thank
So
you.
hopefully there are some exotic wannabes out there, and
Absolutely.
please contact Kathleen. Feel free to look at our website for details and make sure you check with her for pricing because she has lots of things up her sleeves that maybe you're not going to get on the website.
Have
So
the inside scoop.
she's got the scoop. She knows where I live. So
There you go. Alrighty. Well, I hope everybody has a great week. Bye,
thank
everybody.
you. Bye now.
Thank you so much for watching this week's cruise chat with Beverly from Regent Seven Seas. It was really, really nice for her to put all that together. I love looking at the exotic itineraries. It's just so fascinating to me. And that world cruise, oh my gosh, I want to go. It would be just amazing to go. And like she said, you get so much value in with it and so many different amenities. It's just beyond fabulous. Make sure though, because they do book out so quick, that you do contact me to get you on a wait list so that I can get you in the second it opens. I'll have all your information and we'll get it done. I don't want you guys waiting on hold to get it done or having a website crash and then lose out on the opportunity because one of the other cruise lines, and I won't really say their name too much because I don't want to detour from what Beverly was talking about, but they sold out their world cruise in 32 minutes. 32 minutes. Oh my gosh. So I don't want you guys to lose out on that. I want you to be able to have that opportunity and to get your world cruise in. So make sure that you reach out to me at info@plentyofsunshinetravel.com, and I can get your name on our waiting list and we'll get you into that world cruise, because boy, do they sell out fast. Next week, I'm going to be meeting with Silver Sea Cruises. And we're going to be going over some of their adventurous activities, itineraries. So we're going to be looking at some of their expedition cruising once again. I love meeting with Carl and talking about their expedition lines. And that just resonates really well with me because I just love those type of cruises. So be sure that you tune in for that. And the best way to see it is to subscribe to our channel. And then that way you can get notifications as soon as it comes out. So make sure that you do that. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.